Okay, so good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday PD session. Today's session is all about online audience engagement. And today we're specifically going to be looking at two solutions that we have at CSU that have an enterprise license, either active or about to be active. In the case of Mentometer, it's about to be switched on for all staff to have full accounts. That should happen in the next fortnight. So timing is okay before everyone disappears for Christmas, etc. But I'll be running another one in the new year around session 30 as well. But there is some excitement in this space at the moment because Mentometer has just released a function that enables us to use this platform inside our Zoom meetings. So I'm going to be looking at the back end of Mentimeter and Padlet, how we build in those environments, because usually that's what people want to know. What does it look like? How do I make them? How do I access them, etc. And then we'll also look at running the Mentimeter activities inside Zoom sessions. So that means teachers, other staff, etc., can access their activities inside Zoom and the students can engage with them. So you don't have to copy and paste links, etc., till the cows come home. We have an easier way of accessing Mentimeter moving forward. All right, it's probably going to be a slightly haphazard session in that I'll be jumping around a little bit, but I will make every effort to get to your comments, etc., inside the chat pod as I can. I'll try and stop at different points to let people catch up and ask things as they need. But bear with me. The recording will be available. I'm happy to stay around afterwards and chat to people, etc. Or you can reach out and we can go through your own individual needs around this stuff. With all that in mind, let's kick off into things. I'll probably be having to let people into the meeting if they come in late, etc. as well. So look, let's go. I want to have a little bit of a talk very briefly about online audience engagement and specifically what we're talking about with these platforms. So basically what we're talking about here is providing some form of interaction with the students, a way for them to participate. Sometimes it's referred to as an energy booster. Don't take that to heart. Essentially, it provides us an avenue to get ideas, opinions, and feedback from our students. Possibly can make participants feel more valued rather than sitting there looking at more traditional approaches to delivery, didactic delivery, for example, where the audience is passive, for example. Audience engagement tools tend to shift that to a more collaborative teaching approach, potentially. Obviously, it also might provide channels for your participants to identify their own specific needs, depending on how it's done. We're also talking about the difference here between using audience engagement tools live, so synchronously or asynchronously in the case of tools that allow us to embed them within our subject sites. And more often we're seeing tools like Mentimeter and Padlet are used in subject sites, pardon me, left alone for the students to engage with, either as self-checking tools or a way to break the ice, so to speak, with other types of maybe less engaging content. So that brings up conversations around when we use them, during a live event, before the event, after the event, perhaps not even connected to a live event. So all of those things are on the table, so to speak, when we're talking about audience engagement platforms. Once upon a time, not long ago, these were all referred to under the banner of clicker software, which basically meant someone would put something up on a screen and people would use either hand clickers or mobile phones, for example, to register their engagement in some way. But since then, the power of these platforms and tools has increased exponentially. So now they're simply referred to as audience engagement tools. Okay. Mentometer. When we talk about Mentometer or Menti, as a slang term, it is an audience engagement platform which operates under the premise that you, as the host or the creator, have a series of slides, like PowerPoint. On your slides, you will have activities. That's the audience engagement aspect. And you can have one of those per slide. and that people who are participating within those activities are referred to within Mentimeter as voices. So when you see that jargon used, that's what Mentimeter is getting at: slides, activities within the slides, and voices of your participants. I'm going to open up the back end of Mentometer, which is at mentimeter.com, in just a second. And we will have a look at exactly how to build within Mentimeter. But before we get into that part, let's do a Mentimeter activity just to make sure everyone's on the same page. So there are two things that I need to run one of these activities. One is a link that will allow my participants to engage with the activity. Am I not sharing the right screen at the moment? Leanne, can everyone see my Mentimeter slides, or am I sharing the wrong screen?
Lachlan. No, just still the bottle on the beach.
Oh, wow. Okay, good to know. Why is that not showing up? New computer. New computer. Excellent. How about now? Can people see my slide deck?
Yep, all good now.
Oh, dear. Okay, well, we'll be recording that again. Allow me to give you the link to the Mentimeter activity right here. That's for you to vote in. And me as the host, traditionally, I would grab the link to the output window so that I can see people's results coming in as they vote. So we've got output and we've got a voting portal. The voting portal link, when people clicked on it, is asking you this question. In this case, we're saying, you're stuck on a desert island, what are you bringing? In this case, it's a word cloud, and as people put in their feedback, it will be captured live and update. I can see 2, 4, 5, 6 people voting. It updates. And this is the traditional way that we've been using these voting tools, is that we have to provide the link, and we also have to handle the output window as well. So there's a bit of manual work in, but you can see very, very quickly a whole bunch of people in the audience, 20 people, etc., inside the first 10, 15 seconds have already voted, and it's updating live. And this is quite a common way now to engage the audience pretty quickly with Menti. I think the word cloud's probably one of the most popular activity types that they have. So thank you. I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but I'll show you how to build it. Going back to our slide. So that's one activity type in Mentimeter using a word cloud. We'll do one more so we can have a look at a different activity type. This time around, I'll give you a separate link in the chat pod for you to engage with, and I will grab the output window myself for us to look at as people vote. This time round, we have a ranking activity, which is asking people about your home office and what your preferences are when you set up your home office. And through your voting portal, you're dragging and identifying what's the first thing that's most important, what's the second, and then we can start to see those results coming in, which is not bad. The dynamic aspect of this tool, updating the live results on the spot when you're sharing them with the audience, can be pretty neat, to coin a phrase. And then we can see 14, 16, 17 participants voting, and these will reorder as we go, which might bring up some sort of gamed element, if you will, a competition, a race, etc., etc. But these are two, the word cloud and the ranking activity are two of about 15 activity types within Mentimeter. So you could see already we had 30-something people engage with this, and then we have our results for the activity. So thank you very much for everyone that's done that. Let's have a look now. Yeah, right, the Wi-Fi. Good point, Suzanne, sorry. All right, so this is what we've been doing with Mentometer to date. For those using it, is we build an activity and we get two links at the end, one for the voters, one for the output, and we share them. What that looks like in the back end of Mentimeter, when we log into mentimeter.com, if you haven't signed up, it's done through the same page. You can create a free account. Can I suggest for those of you using this for the first time that you create it with your work email because when we turn on the enterprise license in a week or so, all of that will port over, will copy over, and you'll be able to access it through there as well. So maybe don't use a private email address, etc., as you'll be able to get all of that brought into the full account shortly. I'm using the free account today, and as I've logged in, I can see all of my presentations or my files, etc., are accessed up the top here under My Presentations. First thing I'm going to see is a full listing of folders containing presentations and underneath individual presentations. So this is a summary, I guess, and I also have the option to build new ones for myself. Judith, the question about ED is setting this up for you. I think if you ask for the 30 session, you're going to have a hard time finding an ED to work on Menti stuff for you. Maybe if you ask really nicely, but I know that workload pressures for the 30 session are looking pretty nasty, but I'm happy to help. So you can certainly reach out to me in the first instance for a first time if you like. All right, so look, I'm looking at a full list of my presentations. I want to go through the process of building inside Mentometer because, as Annette has put in the chat, it is super easy to use this tool. I'm going to click on New Presentation. We'll call it PD Session First Menti. There we go. Click Create. It will now open the Create panel, if you will. And remember, I was talking about these being slides. So you can see I have one slide up here and it's currently empty. And over on the right-hand side, I'm able to select different activity types to go onto my slides. Now, what I'm going to focus on today is the interactive activities that you can put within your Mentimeter activities. But when we turn on enterprise, more and more people will be using this tool to also just build presentations or import PowerPoint presentations into here, and then to be able to also include these interactives inside your presentation. So I guess look out for that. We will run other sessions about that, but today I'm looking at the interactive aspect. So the first thing that I did this morning with you guys was a word cloud. So let's look at building a word cloud. Super easy. I click on word cloud. This is what the live word cloud looks like currently. It auto saves. I don't need to click save anywhere. So this is already on the internet ready to be used. It's just going to update as I edit it. So at the moment, my word cloud question prompting people just says the word cloud. So let's change it. Whatever. How am I feeling today? Maybe I'm only going to let people use one word or one response. Underneath, it's asking me if I want an image to sit on top of the word cloud. This acts like a reveal, if you will. I'm not going to use that at the moment. Do I want people to be able to participate multiple times? Okay, why not? Turn that on. At this point, this activity is ready to go, but I want to have a little bit of a closer look at some of these other options. Type we looked at was the type of interactive activity, so I'm not going to go back to that. The content we're looking at here, but under the Customize tab, I'm able to shut down voting if I don't want people to be able to vote anymore. Hide the instruction bar. So up the top of the activity on the slide at the moment, we can see an instruction for an audience. And this is more for a face-to-face audience, for example, that are holding their mobile phones. And it says, go to this address and put in this code, and then you can participate in this activity. That's the use case for instructions. When we use Mentometer inside Zoom meetings, for example, or subject sites, we don't need that because we're providing the link to engage with the activity. So in this case, I'm going to actually hide those instructions. So they're gone. Do you want to hide the results? Well, maybe you've got a reason for doing that, but by default, they're visible. Okay, so as I said, this activity is actually ready to go. And if I actually go up to the share button up the top here, I get some information for sharing this, such as the voting link. So if I provided this to you guys in the chat pod in the Zoom room, for example, you could now take part in that word cloud and put in a response to that question. This all comes under the participation area, and you can see people are putting in responses already underneath. I can already see that through this panel. And also under the presentation sharing area, I get the link to the live results. So I could copy that. If I wanted to open those results, just the word cloud for presenting, so to speak, here are those results coming in. So I've literally created an interactive with this tool within moments, launched it, and people are already using it. So it's really, really simple to use. And then if I was really keen and I wanted to leave this inside maybe one of my subject sites, I could go to this embed live results. It's copied the code for me. And if I went to an Interact 2 site, oh, well, we'll pick anyone. I'll delete it, I promise, if this is your subject. Let's go into this area. I'm going to build a content item in Interact 2. Menti. Click on my code button over here. There's the code. And Control V to paste in the code that I just grabbed from Mentometer. Hit save. And it's there ready to go. I can hit submit. And my word cloud is available inside my subject site. Straight away, you've created additional interactives within your subject site. What we're missing from this, obviously, is a link for students to engage with. So that's why we would need to make that available to students as well. Some form of instruction. Click here to post your view, and then they can see their results updating on the spot. Okay, yeah, the recording will be available on the Professional Learning YouTube channel. I'll send that out through the Learning and Teaching coordinators as well, Rebecca. Okay, so look, that's how easy it is to create a Mentimeter activity and to share the activity either live or in a subject site for people to access independently moving forwards. Really, really quick. As we said before, we're able to choose a variety of different activity types. But if you're ever looking to clear all of the feedback from one of your activities and go again, on that first panel, you'll see you've got the option here to reset the results. Okay, so if I do that, the word cloud is now clear and ready to be used again. So all of that's controlled from the back end of Mentimeter. Okay, some of the other activity types that we have: multiple choice, basic ones, an open-ended response, a scales activity, so a like-it scale essentially for people to rate their position on a continuum, the ranking activity that we did before. We can also put in other types of activities such as breaking up resources. So if I had 100 points, how would I allocate them amongst these different options? And many more. Basically, I can't go over all the activity types today. What I can do in the chat pod is share the Mentimeter cheat sheet that we have that goes over all of the activity types. And it's also available in DOMs. So if I can find that for you, give me one moment. Desktop, let's get into that. Tools, Mentimeter. And here's a cheat sheet for you. And that breaks down the full use of the Mentimeter activity. DOMs is where they keep all of the digital objects at CSU, files, etc. And I will put in the address right there for you, Peter. If you put that in your browser, it'll open DOMs for you. It's generally where we back up all of the files that we provide. So a big cloud-based storage. Okay. What I want to show you now is a couple of exemplars of how Menti is used, and then I want to get into using it in Zoom, okay? Can you use it as a survey tool? So potentially, if you were going to use multiple choice, you absolutely could survey the audience to get your survey results. So I'd build a multiple choice activity, and then I have to define what my options are. So for example, I could say option A, great, add another option. Let's get into that. Terrible, etc. So suddenly I've got multiple choice for my activity. I can then say, how do I want to display this? Do I want it as a donut graph, a pie graph, for example? If I've identified correct answers or incorrect answers, I can do that. Do I want it as a percentage? Okay. I can turn that on. And again, now, if I shared the voting link with the audience, they would then be able to go in, as some people are already doing, and vote. So I've surveyed the audience on the spot and I'm getting that feedback straight away. All right, so again, you can choose how you want that represented, bar graph, etc. So yeah, absolutely, you could use it as a survey tool. All right, let's have a look at some exemplars for Mentometer, how it's been embedded elsewhere, just a couple. So we've got, what do we got here? It's a pathway subject where they've embedded Mentometer activities inside their learning materials. This one is asking the students about the skills that they have before they came to uni. And this one is an open response. And the link is provided to the students to share there. Do we have others? Here we have some of the Likert scales activities, asking students to rate their confidence with different text types, for example, ranging from I don't know what this means, probably as a 1 or a 0, to I understand this concept very well, probably as a 5, and their results are done through this link. 216 people have completed that activity. So there's a couple of examples of embedded Mentometer activities and another word cloud there. I don't want to spend too much time on the exemplars for this. What I want to show you how to do is how to use it inside Zoom. That's why the big thing that's going on today. So what I'm going to do here is minimize this and share my desktop with you so you can see what's going on. In your Zoom desktop application, so from your desktop, if you open the Zoom app, you should be familiar with this window. And if you'll now be able to see a button inside your, both the live meeting that says apps and in the desktop app, it says apps. If you click on this, there are 2 tabs, My Apps and a Discover tab. Now under your My Apps, it's probably empty. In that case, you would need to search for, under Discover, and search for Mentimeter and install that. Now the Mentimeter Zoom app is pre-approved, which means when you click on it, you will be able to click through and install it straight away. And then you will be able to launch Mentimeter inside Zoom meetings. And we're going to do that in just a second. But this is one way that you can do it in the background. You can absolutely locate Mentometer and install it so that it's available within our Zoom meetings. And then, this is where I'm going to move my Zoom panel onto here so you can see what's going on. Got my gallery view going. Right down the bottom of my Zoom interface, I can see the apps button here. If I click on apps, the first screen I'm going to see is My Apps, and because I've installed Mentimeter, it's here. I click on that. If it's the first time that you're using this, it will ask you to log into your Mentimeter account. So you need your password, your login and password, but you can then locate all of your Mentimeter files and folders from in here. So if I went into PD workshops, there's our home office activity that we were doing. Okay, this time around, I'll do a different one. I've got a Pop Divas activity. So this is me locating the presentation that I want to use. You guys can't see it yet in your rooms. It's just me. So it brings up a preview. That's what it looks like. The next thing that I need to do is to invite the audience to use it. So I can click invite. Who do I want to use it? I want all participants to be able to use this. And I can click invite. And at this point, the invite will appear above the chat panel for you guys. Once I click on share, right? So it's now saying click share to start sharing it with everybody. So I will click share screen. And now within the Zoom meeting, the share screen that we can all see is the output window for Mentometer. But whether or not you can vote or not depends on if you've enabled the Mentometer app before. So this is where I'm going to rely on you guys a bit to tell me what it is that you can see, not see. You might have to click through. Some people are already using it and voting. I can see that through the output window. Other people are probably being prompted to install Mentometer, if you haven't, to enable it, but it should be a relatively quick and painless process. And note, you're not seeing my entire desktop anymore. Once you click that share button, the only thing that's being shared is the Mentometer output window. And I can't see the chat pod anymore or the participant panel, which makes it a little bit tricky. So with that in mind, I've got to try and find those. And this is a bit of a getting used to this tool and interface for me. Let's see if I can find chat somewhere handy. Under the Zoom panel. The meeting controls, they're hiding somewhere. Where are they? Not there. Underneath there, not there. Over on that screen. Okay, great. So this is the thing. You've got to keep track of what's going on with your chat panel. And I can see all that chat now. Thank you very much. Students will be able to add Mentimeter to their apps. Absolutely, Kerry. They'll be able to do that. The enterprise account will mean that everyone at CSU can get access to this tool, but we will not be pushing it out, so to speak, for students to create and use the tool for at least a year. Our focus is on teachers, staff being able to use this tool and make it available, but they will be able to do exactly what you did. Okay, so that was the invitation to view and turn on Mentometer that appeared in the chat. Thanks very much. Some people were able to use it and some people were not able to. Right, Claire's saying I needed to re-enter on my own account as I came in anonymously. And it wouldn't let you use Mentimeter when you did that, Claire? As a guest, I need to know these things. Okay.
Yeah, the same as me too.
Okay, thanks, Peter. So it's a good point. So what happens when we have students logging into their subject sites and joining Zoom meetings through the Zoom LTI? They come in as guests, but they should be able to use this without issue rather than being signed in. But because staff will have access to host accounts, there might be different prompts about logins, whether or not you need to log into Zoom to be able to use this, or whether you can just be anonymous. So it's a good point. I'm going to have to follow up more on that. But I can see so far we've had 21 people that have used this, which is good. Seems to be working for most people. So we'll have to unpack that a little bit more to find out exactly what it is. But if you're logged into Zoom and you join your Zoom meeting, it seems to be okay. If it's not working properly for you, I'll provide the invitation again, but you might need to open your Zoom desktop application and make sure that you've signed in. Okay, so the authorization question is one that you do need to click on authorize for. That will add the Zoom Menti app for you in the tool. Okay, so looks like there's a bit of a workaround, different scenarios for different people. Okay, all right, well, look, we'll work through some of those scenarios. Okay, thank you for those that participated in that activity. I'm going to stop sharing this for a minute because we do definitely have to move through. I might try sharing another activity and we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to go over and hit stop sharing. And let's find, I'll share my screen again. Let's find another activity. So if I go back in my Mentimeter pane, see how the chat panels disappeared? And the participant pane, it overrides them. And if I want to use them, I've got to open them somewhere separately. All right, so if I do that, it goes over the top. So you may need to think about popping out your chat and moving it onto another screen if you've got it. That's what I'm going to do so I can keep seeing what people are doing. And then back to apps, find my presentations. Okay, let's have a look at anyone, Menti PD activities. Here's another one that we had before, I think. Brings up the summary. This was the word cloud. And at that point, I invite the audience, all participants, invite, it appears in your chat pod. I can see it there now, and share the output. Okay, so that's the continuum, if you will, the sequence that we use this tool with. You locate the activity, you invite the audience, you share your screen. Okay, now I'm going to put in the cheat sheet for using the Mentometer add-in now into the chat pod as well, for those of you wanting to use it. Let me find that. The activity is still going. I can see that being updated. Can I just confirm that all you can see in your Zoom share area is the Mentometer output window? Fantastic. Thank you, Kerry.
I can see it, but it doesn't seem to change.
Say it again. It's not updating for you?
Yeah, it's not updating. Yeah.
Okay. Everybody else, is it updating?
Not updating, no.
Okay. My guess is it's because the Zoom activity that I launched doesn't allow for multiple votes. So if you've already used this before, perhaps?
I had the same problem with the last one. I was just getting 0 across the board for all of the divas.
Interesting. So it's not updating live for you. Maybe once you install the app, I don't know. I'll need to see. Is it updating for everybody or not? No. So you don't see the live output window. Fascinating. So all you can see is a set word cloud. I wonder. Okay. I wonder if it's a bug with that activity type. And that you were saying with the other one, you were only seeing zeros. You weren't seeing all the results live? No. Okay. This is good to know. I will find the Marketplace app instructions. I wonder if that's because your participants. Okay. My screen sharing is paused. Well, that's good to see. Why is it paused? Shouldn't be paused. Let's try it again. I'll launch it again. I wonder why. Shouldn't be paused. It should be live. I can certainly see it updating from my end.
No, it's just no change, nothing.
Yeah.
It's like it's frozen, that's it.
Pretty wacky. Step 1, invite. Step 2, share. Okay. I'll stop sharing. I'll launch it again. What about this time round if I invite again? I'll expand the view, share my screen. So it says that it's sharing. It's moved it off a different monitor. I wonder if that's it.
Now it's changing.
Now it's changing. So it's where it's being shared. Okay, now I'm with you. So this is a multiple monitors thing. Hopefully you won't have this problem. Because when I share it, it's shared it onto one monitor. And when I moved it across onto a different screen to look at, it looks like it's frozen for all of you. Okay, good to know. So it's not broken altogether. It's just me. All right. So when it opens and shares those results, don't move it onto another screen or you'll break it. Good to know. Okay, that's a relief. All right, so everybody can see that now? Fantastic. All right, good stuff. Okay, I'm going to stop there for a minute and take some questions, comments, etc., about the back end of Mentimeter, the Zoom app plugin, etc. Anything that you've got going. We'll talk about that for a minute. Who's got some questions?
I have one.
Go ahead, please.
When you're using Mentimeter, if you embed it within your Interact 2 site, does it record all your polls and things like that as you would normally? It's no need for like as if like we don't have to worry about anonymity of students or whatever results. We just sort of tailor it the way that sort of makes it so it's engaging but not identifiable.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Everyone engaging with the activity is anonymous. All users of Mentimeter. It doesn't capture user data in any way. Doesn't identify them, etc. So no, that's preserved. You provide them with a link. They go in as a guest effectively or an anonymous user. I can't tell who put in what responses, for example, into the word cloud. It's completely anonymous. Yep, that's a good question. Go ahead, Danny.
So I first used clickers. I think I was the first person at CSU in 2005 to do this after I saw a conference in the United States. Is there a way that you can track who it, or must it be anonymous?
With Mentometer, it has to be anonymous.
Okay.
Yep. It's not integrated with any other accounts, for example, to verify users. Yep.
Okay.
Could I
question there about is there a way to set up a shared account for Mentimeter? So if you're team teaching or something, you don't have to recreate things.
It would be a very manual way of doing it, but yes, you could, if you had a group email, for example, that you'd set up that people might access together, like a Gmail that a team was using, you could register for Mentimeter with that Gmail address that the team has access to, and then you could connect that Mentimeter account to your Zoom meetings, and each of the team members going in, for example, could use that. But first and foremost, it's targeted at individual users. It's a good question. Other questions? Am I missing any? I'm glad some of you are keeping track of the chat pod for me. Definitely.
Can you export activities, save them, and then someone else could re-import them?
Yeah, no, it doesn't allow for porting of activities that I'm aware of, but I haven't had a chance to play with the enterprise version of this yet. When it's turned on in a week, I'll see if that's a possibility of going across between different accounts and sharing in that respect. But it doesn't export file types for activities that you could then import. It's a good question, Danny. Yeah, so what will be involved, let me stop sharing this and I'll open the back end again. Let's do this. Okay, so look, if I share my screen, bring my browser back up. Let's do that. Okay, so the difference between a free license, such as I'm using, which allows you to create an indefinite number of new presentations that can only contain 1 or 2 slides. You can see the slides up here on the left. So if you were going to create consecutive activities, you launch one, people participate, then you as the host progress the activity to the next one, and the audience is able to then participate with the next one on the same deck. The free account only lets you create 2 of those, a maximum of 2 subsequent activities. You could make 1,000 one-slide activities, all with separate links to share with the audience. But the enterprise version of this product, once it's turned on, will allow you to have hundreds of consecutive slides if you were going to do that, which means hundreds of activities if you wanted to do that. The product also allows you to import PowerPoint, which will mean that you could, among your existing presentations, have Mentimeter activities embedded within those, and you present from this platform. You'll be able to embed those again within subject sites. So you'll have a combination of presentation and activity together. So it's not just for use in Zoom, for example, it's also in terms of the way that your teaching materials potentially are used currently.
Could you explain that again, Lachlan? You're saying that you could create a template for Mentimeter in PowerPoint.
So it allows you to import PowerPoint slides into Mentimeter. So each of the slides would be in here with your existing presentation, and then you can create interactive activities that sit inside that presentation. So it can be launched live and people can participate with parts of your presentation as long as they've got the joining link, or it could be embedded. Remember I looked at embedding your Mentimeter presentation inside i2. You'll be able to embed your full presentation, including the activities and the slides inside a content area.
Have you got time to demonstrate that, Lachlan? Because that'd be super useful, I reckon.
So that would then be the solution if one team wanted to share something that was common across their sites or subjects then.
They could embed it, yeah, absolutely, in that respect. I want to, Phil. However, the ability for me to do that, if you can see with that green star that's above the import button, tells me that it's only part of the enterprise license, which I don't have access to yet. As soon as I've got it, I'll make a recording of doing exactly that. But essentially, it will bring in the slides along here on the left, and then I'll be able to create new slides with activities to go in amongst that. And then I can embed it using the share function under the presentation sharing aspect, which is embedding the results, embedding the presentation. Yeah, I promise I'll do it as soon as I get access to it. Okay, I need to keep moving because we've got the other half of this, which is Padlet, which people arguably are probably more familiar with. So I'm happy to hang around and talk more Mentimeter. Obviously, we've still got a few bugs to work through in terms of people's access to the tool inside Zoom. Are there any other final questions on Mentimeter quickly now before I move on to looking at the Padlet tool? Anybody?
Lachlan, I just had a quick question about, could you embed that into a recording for feedback at the end? Or is that not really the place for it? It's not going to be interactive at that point because the recording will just be a video file. Yeah. So, I mean, you could capture it and you'd be talking to it, but it'd be the same as presenting any other type of screen, I guess, at that point. Yep. All right. No worries. Thank you. Yeah, no problem.
Couldn't you embed a link?
And then the person could then type the link out manually. It's a very roundabout way, I suppose, of getting to the endpoint. But yeah, you could do that. It depends where you're going to put it ultimately. If it's going to be embedded in a subject site, then yes, you could provide links to voting portals for people to participate with Mentimeter activities. But I'm sure we'll see lots of different scenarios for how that's used once the license rolls out. Okay, so look, we looked very briefly at the Mentometer Marketplace app, and I've given you the cheat sheet for it. I'll keep sharing those files, but essentially it allows you to launch your activities inside Zoom meetings. You install it either through the desktop app or in the live meeting under your apps button. And the process for using it is to locate your file, to invite who you want to participate, and to share your presentation. That's the kind of the continuum. And we have a cheat sheet for Mentometer and for the enterprise tool once it's available in a week, will be all available inside DOMS. So if we go to DOMS, search Mentometer, you'll be able to find them all. All right, let's have a look at Padlet briefly. I won't dwell on this too long because people are probably more familiar with it, but also because we're running out of time. Padlet is a bulletin board, essentially, that allows users to participate and make posts, contributions to those walls, and people can contribute to those. I won't run through activities with us using it, I don't think, today, but I will show you some exemplars of Padlet walls. Here's one inside a law subject. In this case, the students inside the content area, the Padlet wall has been embedded. If I can find it. I think it's inside the assessment area. Assessment.
Topic 1, Lachlan.
Topic one. Thank you. Okay, so we've got, here we go, an activity. That's not it. Keep going. There we go. All right, so there's an activity for these law students. And in this case, the person that's built the wall, Kim, who's in the room with us, has added posts linking to newspaper articles. The activity is called Wall of Shame, for example. They need to read the examples, locate the conduct of the solicitors, etc., that have been breached. I'm assuming that there are instructions above. Yes, there are. Choose an example, locate the rules, and comment on other people's posts. And underneath each of those, the participants are then able to provide their own feedback with the activity. So the host has created the wall, added the initial content, and then the participants hit the plus sign to add their own. Let's have a look at some more. In this case, we've got feedback on assessment provided for the students. If we go into, let's look at assessment 1. Okay, so in this case, we have an empty Padlet wall that's been embedded for the students to ask questions and answers around the assessment. So it's an alternative to using the discussion forum, for example, and located within the relevant assessment folder. So Kim, am I right in thinking that you've got one of these for most of your assessments in this case?
Yeah, so it's embedded in every assessment folder for the subject.
Right, and you found that the students engage with that a bit more rather than trying to make discussion board posts?
Yeah, they're much happier to post on Padlet and to interact with each other on Padlet in discussing whatever issues they're dealing with the assessments than they were on the discussion board. So I made both available, but I found the most traffic was on the Padlet wall.
Right, and I can see that you've added in other kind of support materials for the assessment inside that same Padlet wall.
That's right. So I would collate all of the information that was going on in the discussion board, private emails, and the Padlet wall, and then did a short podcast of frequently asked questions and dropped the link to that podcast into that Padlet wall.
Okay, so it becomes kind of a one-stop shop because it takes all those different file types for the audience to engage with. So it's less of a live engagement tool, although we can certainly use it in that way. It's more commonly used at CSU for embedded, so asynchronous use. All right,
very quickly, Lachlan, sorry, can you pin posts to the top, like the video link that Kim was just talking about, or do the students have to scroll through all of it to find it?
There are some different settings when you create Padlet walls that will sort of control the way the content appears. One of them is newest or oldest content first. So potentially one way of getting around that scenario is maybe have the original content first, and it's always going to be at the top, but it's not frozen as such or pinned. I know what you mean. You can certainly do that in a lot of tools. But the other way to do it is to create the type of Padlet wall where you manually put content where you want it to sit rather than that stream that we were just looking at. So we might have a look at Padlet, building within Padlet, so we can see some of that functionality. Another common way of using this tool, for example, is to provide a map where students can actually indicate where they are. So this is quite commonly used in subjects now to provide a way for students to identify where they are. So in this case, it's saying click on the plus and tell us where you are and the area that you want to get into. So the students in this case would click the plus, put where they are. So I'm in Bathurst, for example, New South Wales. And then the other instruction, what do I want to get into? Okay, so it might be paramedicine or something like that. And I hit publish and it goes onto the wall, adding my post. And I can click on all the others. Someone there wanting to get into library studies in Mildura, for example. So these walls are a way very quickly for people to engage en masse. It's anonymous unless a person puts in their name and details. So we had that before. I can also zoom in and zoom out, or also make this full screen if I need to. What I'm interested in today is actually showing you the back end, the build for Padlet, and I will also share the cheat sheet for the product with you. So let's do that first for those of you that need to take off Padlet. There's a Padlet cheat sheet. Okay, the Padlet tool, we have a backpack license for, so everyone gets a license to use this product, but the address to access all of your Padlets is charlessturt.uni1.padlet.org. And if you don't have a Padlet account, you need to request one. And the process for doing that is in that cheat sheet that I've just dropped in. But essentially, it's as simple as sending an email to padlet@csu.edu.au with your name, your school, and your phone number. And they'll create an account on the spot for you and send you back the login details. Okay, it's very, very painless to get access to this. And then at that point, you can start making your own Padlets. I'm going to do that here. It asks us to choose a format for our Padlets. You'll see at the moment there are 7 different types. They do add new ones in periodically. The most common one, I guess, is the wall, which allows you to people to add posts, and the most frequent ones, it'll push them all up towards the top left, basically, as we add them. It will add in a background for you, which you can change. If I don't want the flowers, for example, you can choose colors, gradients, patterns, or add your own images. So Christmas time, why not? You then need to configure the title and the description for your Padlet wall. Who's getting what for Christmas? Okay. And then an instruction maybe in the description. Click the plus, tell us what you want. I could choose an icon if I wanted to. So if I was looking for something Christmassy, maybe there's one in there, but to be honest, I don't really have time. So I'll just choose this party hat emoji, that'll do. And what else do I want going on? Change the font maybe. Attribution is off by default. We can't see who posts in here, and the students engaging with Padlet walls are anonymous unless they've gone to the length of creating a Padlet account for themselves and identified themselves. There's that thing I was talking about, Phil. Where do we want new posts, at the beginning or at the end? And you'll need to choose whether or not you want other people to be able to comment on posts. If that's the purpose of the activity, for example, then you'll need to turn it on. By default, it's off. Okay, do I want reactions to my posts? Okay, maybe you want to turn on likes. So if you can't say something nice, you don't get to say anything. Maybe you want it to be used as an upvoting or downvoting activity or for stars. But by and large, this is off unless people turn on likes. We don't have approvals on. You might want to turn on the profanity filter if you don't want people swearing on your walls. Then I can click through to next. Right, it says that we're ready to go, start posting. And now up the top, my wall's live, so people would be able to get hold of the plus button and start posting on here. But I'm going to grab the link to share with you guys. So I'll click share. And here I can copy the link for us to use and put it inside our Zoom chat. As long as I can find our Zoom chat. Chat, where are you hiding? There we go. Which will mean that you get to open the Padlet wall in your browser, and then you can start participating with the wall. For those of you doing that, I'll keep going with the wall itself with the share settings. Quite often we want these to be collaborative, or other staff need to come in and moderate the walls or update them. At that point, what learning resource officers and others need, I can see people adding in results already. You can add in people that have Padlet accounts in here and search for them. So if I wanted Kim, for example, to get access, I could start typing her name in there, and I could say, right, Kim Bailey is also able to administer my wall, for example, and then I can save that. That's how we get a collaborative Padlet wall shared between multiple people. And the next part, I could see lots of people adding in things very quickly. With your posts as well, you're able to add in images, not just text. And I can see people adding in their responses. We'll see them all being pushed up the top and to the left by default. The other thing that I'm able to do at this point with your posts, you don't just have to put in text. You can also locate an image to add with your thing. So someone said, all right, hot tub, and search for an image. Looking for a hot tub. It's doing a search, hot tub. Okay, people are adding in, there's a hot tub, and I can publish my post, and you can see people adding those in as well. So it's very, very multimodal. It'll allow you to drop in YouTube clips, images, text, links, code snippets, all sorts of stuff. Very, very quick and easy to share. And if I wanted to take my wall and use it within a subject site rather than just providing a hyperlink, the process is very simple. We go back to our share options. Underneath, copy the link to the clipboard. We've also got an option to embed. So I'm going to copy that. There's the code. Copy the code. Go back to that I2 site that I had before. Not this one, but why not? We'll do it here and then I'll delete it. Not there, not there, not there. Let's get ready for a different one. This is good. So I'll build a new content item. Again, I'm going to turn on the code, paste the embed code and hit save. And there's my Padlet wall ready for my students to engage with. So it's super, super quick and easy to get this tool into your subject sites. And there are 1,001 different use cases for Padlet walls, really. I've only been able to scratch the surface today, but we have a video on the YouTube channel completely devoted to Padlet walls. And you can get hold of that on the Professional Learning channel. All right, so it's really, really simple to use and get it embedded within your subject site. Now, I'm aware that we're at time and that people need to run, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to spend the next few minutes dropping in links to the resources for today, the different cheat sheets, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions on the use of Mentimeter, Mentimeter in Zoom, Padlet, et cetera. Okay, I do apologize for how rushed it is. There's a lot to go through. But have a great week, everybody. And I'll see you around. All right.